Alli Bell. I'm from North Augusta. I went to North Augusta High School. I've always played volleyball. I also played like softball and basketball growing up, so I've always played some kind of sport, but volleyball was like my main thing. I signed to go to Shorter University, leaving high school, so I was there for freshman and sophomore year. I had a great time. It was awesome. It really shaped me into who I am. But just some things changed, and I was kind of homesick. That was 4 hours away, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but me and my mom are absolute best friends, and so I was just ready to kind of be closer. And I've always known Coach Cox as the volleyball coach here, and so when that worked out, I was super happy to be able to come and be 20 minutes away from home. So I played volleyball here for junior and senior year. And then on my senior night, I really had a great time, and I just loved the feeling, and I started to realize slowly that, like, I was about to be done being an athlete, and I kind of wasn't ready for that. I've always been friends with Coach Lauren here as our strength coach, so anytime I was in the weight room, she was always there, and we just got really close and built a relationship like that. And I saw what she did with the cross-country team last year, how she took a lot of people who had never even ran before and made them into good runners, and that everyone had fun, and it was a great environment to be a part of. So then we had a talk about, like, oh, what if I came and ran cross-country, and so things just kind of started from there, and now here I am.
So what made you go to Shorter in the first place? With it being so far away, and you said you have a close relationship with your mom.
So actually, coming out of high school, I really didn't want to go to Aiken. This wasn't a place that was like on my docket. I love Coach Cox, but at the time he had a lot of like setters already, which was my position, and so I knew that going in, there wouldn't really be an opportunity to play until maybe junior year or something, which is ironic because then I stepped in junior year. But the places that I had kind of narrowed down my recruiting from were Augusta, Newberry, and Shorter. I went on visits for all three. My number one pick was Augusta, like for a while. I want to be a physical therapist, and they have physical therapy school for grad school. So I thought that would be like an easy transition to be there for undergrad and into graduate school. And I love Augusta, so that, like the city and stuff. So I just like being home, like that would be great. So I loved that option. I loved Newberry too because it was a Christian school setting, and faith is like very important to me. So that's something that I want. That was like a pro over Augusta. And it was still only like an hour up the road. So if anything bad happened or anything, I just got really homesick and just wanted to be home. I could just drive home easily. Shorter was I almost wrote it off like to begin with because it was 4 hours away. I didn't think that was going to be practical for me. I didn't think that I would enjoy my experience because like being so far. Yeah. But I absolutely loved Coach Mosley, who was my coach there. And I had a great visit. They're also a Christian school. They're a Baptist orientation. So that was still really important to me. And I just as soon as I stepped on campus, I loved it. And so it had a great like vibe, homey feel to it. So I was worried about leaving home, but I was just going into like another home feeling. So that's kind of what made me choose there. And so, yeah.
Cool. You've talked a lot about Christianity and your faith. How does that influence your volleyball at all, or your sports, like your athletics at all?
Yes. I kind of touched on this a little bit with my senior spotlight last year. But I am someone who is very selfless, and I put everyone else first before me. And as an athlete, solely doing that and solely putting like your coach's expectations or your teammates first before you, especially being a setter, where all I was worried about was giving the best opportunity I could for like my hitters to hit. Nothing was ever quite good enough because I always was like striving to do something better, which is great in order to push yourself, but there has to be a point where you have to be okay with what you're doing. Like you have to be okay with not being perfect right then. And I never understood that. So I kind of hit a slump a little bit in like sophomore-ish year at Shorter. And just putting things into terms of like, hey, what am I really playing for? You know, like volleyball's going to be over in 2 years. I won't have it anymore. So what do I actually want out of this, like in my life? And I think that's when I really started putting God first instead of just like all, like I thought I was doing the right thing by putting everyone else and like my coaches and my teammates and everything like first and prioritizing them, when really I should have been putting God first, them second, and then me. So, but just understanding that like God made us in His perfect design, and He made us all different, and just like whatever His perfect design was, and I have to be okay. Like that just created a lot of like acceptance for me, because obviously I'm here. Like He created this world and created everybody on it, and He decided to put me on it because the world would not be what He wanted without me on it. And so that just spoke a lot to me. And I was like, well, obviously, if it's good enough for Him, it should be good enough for anybody. So, still obviously striving to get better and still like put your best out for Him, but knowing that your best at whatever moment it is good enough. So, I think it just created a lot more confidence for me that I didn't necessarily have before. And it actually helped me get better because I wasn't just beating myself up all the time, that I was actually like, enjoying what I was doing in the process.
So how do you feel that that's going to influence switching to a completely different sport? Because you've never done cross country before.
Right. I've never ran more than a mile in my life
So
before.
how is that going to impact your view on that?
So I had to lower my individual standards a lot. I think because I've been playing volleyball since I was in 5th grade, and that was early too for our area. Like that was really early time. Most people don't start until like maybe 8th grade or 9th grade. So I had been doing it as soon as I could do it. And so I needed to change my perspective and know that I'm not on the level where I'm all conference like I was in volleyball. I'm not on that level right now. I've never done this. So I definitely have been following Coach Lauren's training like to the T. Everything she's done has been like fantastic in her way of just training me up to where I could build mileage up but still like keep some speed. Like she's the best coach like forever. I mean, she's fantastic. So in addition to just following everything she had to say, I really had to take a step back, and because the first like 3 months, I loved the team, but I hated the sport. I absolutely hated running. I did.
That sounds about right, yeah.
I mean, because it was just so different. Like, it's something I've never done before. I've only done, like, sprints as conditioning. And I could sprint all day long, but, like, running consistently and not stopping for miles, that was insane to me. Right. And so especially with what I was saying with volleyball about how I'm not going to be playing volleyball forever. Like, it's only a limited amount of time, so what do I want to get out of it? I had to have that same conversation with myself and with God. And I was like, I will be running cross country until, like, in the fall, and, like, that's it. I mean, obviously I can still run afterwards, but, like, competitively, that this is the only time I'm going to run it. So what do I want to get out of it? And besides the easy, like, straightforward answers, like staying in shape and, like, being close with friends, it was really about just kind of like building on who I am as a person. I think that just challenging myself in this way has definitely made me look to God even more than I did with volleyball. Because there have been so many times where I've just been running and I just want to stop and quit and be done. But I just start praying and I'm like, Lord, I know I can't do it. Like, I know I cannot physically do this by myself. I will do my best. Just help me get through this. And so, if anything, because it's so hard and because it's so different, it makes me look to Him even more. So it's like, it's strengthened my faith in the process.
Has switching to one you've never done before changed your perspective on being an athlete or athletics in general?
Yes. Especially in high school, because I was playing club out of Columbia, that took so much of my time that I was like, okay, I have to, like, I only have time for this one sport. So I'm going to do the best I can at this and kind of just leave softball and basketball behind, which was hard for me. But that's the decision I made, so I went with it. Now, I want to say to anybody in high school, like, do as many sports as you can, because if I would have been doing cross country on top of volleyball, I think that would have helped me be a better volleyball player too, just build my endurance more. I mean, my endurance was fine. It was good enough, but especially like senior year running a 5-1, those 5 set matches, those were killer, you know. And there's a way where you can balance them. I know that you work on completely different muscle groups and stuff. Like obviously volleyball is mainly sprinting and jumping and things, whereas like fast twitch fibers, where cross country is like slow twitch fibers with endurance and stuff. But if I would have been doing cross country and this at the same time, like I know the seasons wouldn't have necessarily worked out, but like it would have just made me better in each sport overall, you know. I think that the good thing I have about cross country is at the end of a run, no matter how tired I am, I'm going to sprint through the line. Like when I see the line, I'm going to take off and start running. And also with volleyball, just it built me to be a better competitor. So I've already noticed too with team practices in cross country that I do better when there's more people running, because I stop worrying about my pace or my time and I start worrying about, okay, who's in front of me? Let me go get in front of them. So that has been awesome. Like, I didn't get that last semester really, and like over summer because I was mainly by myself, just doing my own workout, just like start from the bottom and coming up to it. But now that we're actually in full practice here, like I've noticed that a lot, and that's maybe better. So there are things that I gained from volleyball that I can apply to cross country, and I definitely could have applied endurance and like mental toughness into volleyball. If that makes sense.
What's that been like going from one team that you were with, you know, for 2 years to a whole new team with new people?
Well, I think that going to a new team, like transferring, going to a new team, that in itself kind of taught me a lesson on how to just go from one group that you're completely clicked with to just trying to find a role in the next one. And so now that I switched from volleyball to cross country and I'm no longer playing volleyball, so it's not like I still have them as teammates, like going to a completely new team, it's only made that skill stronger of learning like how to find a role, but also just how to be yourself. Like not necessarily like fitting into a certain role, but how to be yourself, and for people to love that. Like I've loved every single one of my cross country teammates and volleyball, but like for as far as cross country goes, like everyone brings their own uniqueness, and it just works. And so I love all the personalities we have. We have such a like a mosh posh of like personalities, and I love every single one of them because they're so different, and we all just like it just how somehow fits. So I've just absolutely loved getting to know my teammates.
With all this like extra growth you've seen in yourself from switching sports and everything, and just throughout college athletics, what do you hope, since you said you're not going to do competitive stuff like this after graduation, what do you hope the impact of that is on you past graduation into your the rest of your life?
Well, especially just with my transition to cross country, I think this has taught me so much about how to roll with the punches, and that whatever I enter, I am not going to be the best at. I'm not going to be like, I plan to do physical therapy school, like I mentioned, so I'm not necessarily going to be the best therapist, especially when I first start out. So I think it has taught me a really good balance of like accepting where I am and knowing that that's okay, but also being able to push through and to be able to get better and to learn something every day. Like there has not been a practice for cross country where I haven't learned at least one new thing about running since I've started in January. Like every single day I've learned something, whether it was like what to eat or what to stretch, and just a lot of different things. There's always been something where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, or oh, I'm not gonna do this. I think that just helps you out in life, whether it's work or just like family, like parenting a child one day, you know, just anything that I have like coming in life for me, just being able to like actively learn and know that like there's not anything that I know 100%. Like even volleyball, like just cross country has also made me look at it through a volleyball perspective. Like there are still so many things that I don't know about volleyball. After playing for so many years, like you don't no, even experts, you don't know everything about anything. So I think that has changed my perspective a lot. And just knowing that like I'm actively learning no matter what. So that, and also just mental toughness. I might have a boss one day that is just, you know, not a people person, or he just might kind of be a jerk, or she, like anything. So just learning how to deal with challenges throughout life, I think that's what like the main thing I've learned from cross country for how it makes me a better person.
That's all.
It's not boring. It's okay. You literally every room sings the song in a different language. That's the opposite of boring.
To be fair, every ride at Disney World is boring. That's why people go to Epcot.